All right, welcome back everybody. Well, today we're going to take on I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, probably the song that launched distortion riff guitar rock as a genre, maybe this and You Really Got Me neck and neck on that. But such a great piece of work, and we're going to break all the parts down. There's basically three components in terms of guitar that we're going to break down. There's the acoustic that happens throughout, and then there's two different sort of sets of parts that Keith Richards plays on electric. So we're going to start with the acoustic, which I believe was played by Brian Jones, but we'll break down all of those parts and get to it. Okay, and if you haven't done so already and you like this kind of thing, please jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell lets you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my videos have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, which is like a button you just like throw in a tip in the tip jar. Or you can join my Patreon page where I have chord charts and tabs for all the lessons that I do on YouTube, like this one. All the links are in the description below. Check it out. All right, so I Can't Get No Satisfaction. We'll start with the acoustic, which is the foundation for this whole thing. I believe this was played by Brian Jones in the studio. And first, there's four chords to this whole song. That's it. E, A, D, and a B7. They're all first position cowboy chord voicings. But yeah, that's really it in terms of chords. And there's kind of two sections that happen. There's the section where the fuzz guitar is going on, and then there's the singing versus sections where the clean electric guitar is happening, okay? But song kicks off with the riff, right? On the fuzz guitar, and we'll learn that in just a little bit, right? So that comes in, and the bass joins it. And then when it comes back down, as it launches into the next one, you hear a big E chord, just a whole note. And then when the riff gets up to here, when it gets to that D note, it's just a big D chord to launch it, right? Na 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 na, right? And the drums are already in there. From that point on, it's all like E-A-D. So that's sort of the feel. It's just E-A-D, which is every Neil Diamond song and half of the Monkees songs. Cherry baby. Right? So notice that the strum pattern is mimicking the rhythmic pattern of the riff. That A to D, A to E is when that movement is happening. All right, now we're going to go into our normal verse section. I think it's a verse. You know, he's singing I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That's just E to A, E to A, E to B7, and then E to A, I think. So it's just... B7. And then we're back to the top. And then rinse and repeat. So that's all there is to this song. There's three sections where it moves between, or three verse sections where it's E to A. through that 3 times, and then you're following it up with your and that's really all there is. And on the fade out, that's all it is. That's it, all day long. But I've heard bands play this live, and when you don't have that sort of rhythm guitar going on, and I think the most important, arguably the most important, or second most important instrument in this song is the tambourine. If you don't have that, just seems lacking, you know? Anyway, and by the way, did you know that there's piano on this song? There's actually piano in the recording that we all know, and it's kind of low in the mix. You don't really hear it so much as you feel it, you know? But Ian Stewart's back there playing piano, and I think where you hear it the most is on that E to A part of the verses. Right? It's just an E to A in terms of guitar. But the piano is doing this, or versions of that, you know, where you're doing that A suspended, or calling ahead to the Keith chord that he'll do for years. Right? Like that's in there, and the piano does it. Nobody else is really doing it, but it's sort of moving between that A and the D a little bit on that part. But give that a listen. I'll link here the instrumental version of this that you can hear on YouTube, and you can sort of hear it a little better. But I thought that was cool. I didn't actually really know that there was a piano on this. So that's it for the acoustic, honest to gosh. Yeah, so let's talk about the electric, which is probably why you tuned in. All right, so let's talk about the electric parts. So there's basically 2 parts that we're going to break down. One is Keith's fuzz tone that launches the song, and what I think is then the more interesting parts is the electric clean stuff that's going on during the verses. Now I'm going to walk through all of these, but again, just want a reminder, if you're interested in actual note for note and having that as a reference for you, I have all of this tabbed out for my Patreon members online. They can get you can download all the tabs for all the songs that I do, just like this one. But there's little nuances on the clean parts here that differ on each one of the 3 verses, so that's captured perfectly in those tabs. So just wanted to remind you for that. Okay. So Keith, as far as everyone can tell, on this song used his 59 Les Paul and probably a Showman or a dual Showman blackface Fender. And those come with 15-inch speakers normally. And that, I think, is a big part of the sound for this, especially when he goes to the clean parts. A big part of that sound is just that big sound that those 15-inch speakers can pump out. It's very different. I've got 12s that I'm running into here. I'm actually running stereo into my Bassman, which has 12s, and my Super Reverb, which has 10s, 4 10s, which obviously is not the same, but it's sort of just a bigger sound that I can get to try and approximate it. Okay, and then links for all the gear that I'm using here is going to be down below. I'm using the Wazacraft Fuzz from Boss. Obviously Keith used a Maestro fuzz-tone, but I'm using my Wazacraft Fuzz, which I think is super versatile. They're not sponsoring this, obviously. I'm just a fan. All the Wazacraft Boss pedals have 2 voicing settings on them, which is really interesting. So if you can spend as you look at Boss pedals, and they usually have a Wazacraft version of each one of their pedals, or most of them, there's usually 2 voicing settings on it. And on the Fuzz, there's a vintage and a modern setting. And so what I find sounds best for this song is I've got it switched over to vintage. I've got the fuzz all the way up, but I've got the tone on the fuzz all the way down. And on my guitar, I'm using my bridge pickup, and my volume is back. to about 7 to sort of pull the extra fuzzy fuzz off of it and get a nice sharp note. So that's what I'm going for here. So let's talk about that part. So that's just happening right here on the A string, and it's just your 2nd, 4th, and 5th fret on the A string is all it is. So really it's dialing up that fuzz to the sound that you want and let it rip. There you go. And he sort of plays with that, the picking, as he goes throughout the song. So feel free to have fun with that. But that's all there is to that part. The crucial part when you're playing this live, for me, when bands play it live, is dial that fuzz tone in, get it really crisp and trebly, and then get it out front. Like, a lot of times the fuzz sits back when they kick the fuzz on, you sort of lose it. Anyway, that's the most important. Even when you hear the Stones play it on Ed Sullivan, when he plays the fuzz part, it sort of drops out. Like, there is no huge volume boost involved there. So anyway, enough about the fuzz. So that's how I'm getting the fuzz tone. The rest of the song on the electric, I think, is more interesting. So there's 3 verses. I'm using my neck pickup for all of these. Got my volume up, plenty of reverb, and that's sort of the sound that I've got going on. So where I'll show you all the 3 verses or choruses. I don't know if it's a verse or a chorus actually what this section is that he's playing this, but everything happens up here between pretty much the 5th and the 9th fret. You touch 11 on one string a little bit, but everything is between 5 and 9. And you're pretty much bouncing between riffs around this E chord shape and the A bar chord shape and a little bit of the B. That's it. Because remember, this is all happening over chords that are doing that we just learned on the acoustic, right? It does the E to the A and then the E to the B. E to A. Right? Keith's not playing any of that. That's all the acoustic part, but that's the bed for all the parts that are going to happen. So again, there's 3 verses. Each one of the verses are a little bit different than each, so I'll go over the nuances for each one. And then there's some things that are common to all of them too, so I'll call those out. Okay, so he comes into, this is a part that's pretty much the same on all 3, how he gets into and leads his first notes into each verse section. So he comes in at the end of the E strumming chord before you go to the A, right? So it's, I can't get no. So there's nothing going on there except acoustic. And then Keith comes in with this. So that's, think of an E chord like that, and you're sort of playing around with the major scale around that E chord. Or you can think of it as the major scale around the A chord that you're leading to. But either way, it's bouncing off of that 7th, 9th fret between the E string and the A string, right? So it's going to come in. And really, when he's on that A, he's really not doing much. It's either just the single note or it's the root and the 5th. And maybe doing a little bit of that, or maybe not. But either way, whether you do it or not, it's going to fit and feel great. Kind of feels like he's doing it, maybe. But there you go. So anyway, you launch into it. And we're going to bounce back and forth on that over that E chord. And then we're going to go to our E to B riff, and this is the B riff is actually the same on all three of them. It's that. You get out of it on the A. So that's all there is to it. That's it for all the first one. Now the second one comes in exactly the same way. There's going to be two things basically that are different on the second one. It's a transition. He does a more interesting transition when he moves from the A chord back to the E. And then there's actually a mistake that happens in here, and they left that in too. So anyway, starts off the same. Now we're going to go back to the E, and he does a different transition. That's sort of the only time you're up here touching 11. So you're on your A. Here's the mistake. So he comes, this is the last time he's moving from the A before you go into the E to the B riff, right? Little clam. So he hits that 8th fret on the D string, just for a second. So who knows what he was doing, what he was trying to do there. Maybe he was trying to do that, right? Same B riff. Whoops. And then there's a little bit of an interesting part how he gets out of it on the A. So instead of just holding the A, instead of just holding that A, he does, right? So all of these, you know, these chords that he's doing, he's always playing around with that. Right? It's always that. But so that's how he gets out of it. Does a quick little pull off. So wrapping it up. Nice. And then the last one, again, almost identical on the intro. You sort of don't hear that first note on, you sort of don't hear that very well. Maybe he hits it and mutes it by mistake, but you sort of hear, right? Now, when he comes up to our E, I think most of us know this E7th chord, right? Right? It's in a lot of Beatles songs. So we're just going to play those three notes, the root, the major third, and the dominant 7 of that. And we're going to do 3 stabs, up picks, starting from the 3rd string, right? So again, coming in from the beginning. That's the only thing that's different. When he goes to that A, he hits it cleanly a couple times, and then you hear him kick on the fuzz just a little early. So let me see if I can do that all together. goes back. So cool, so cool. So that's it. There's subtle variations between those three parts, but again, all of that's mapped out for my Patreon members, so on tabs. So feel free to join and check that out if you haven't done that yet. So that is Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, and I hope you learned something new today. If you haven't done so already and you like what you saw, please jump down, click subscribe, ring the bell. The bell lets you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to take on and do similar, let me know what that is too. But until next week, take care, everybody.